Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday live session. Today, I will be talking to you guys about some recent announcements that were made by the IRCC. And, it kind of sent a lot of people in a little bit of a flurry. So I figured I'll talk about this today in my session here today. As you guys come on in, give you guys a couple moments to join in. And as you join in, as per usual, hi there. Hi, Javon. Welcome, guys. And as per usual, where are you guys joining me from? I have some folks on Facebook. I have some folks joining on Instagram. Hey, welcome. All right. So today we're going to talk about some recent announcements, by the government of Canada, so Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, as it relates to traveling to Canada, which is a big thing these days, of course, with all that's been happening with the COVID-19 situation. So they made an announcement about those who are visiting or those who have applied for a visitor's visa previously, and they went and they made some changes to that. And they came out with a new announcement. So, because I know there was once they made the announcement about the visitor's visa situation, a lot of people were not pleased. And so, people were raising their concern. They changed that and they sent out a clarification because a lot of people would have been impacted by it. So we're going to look at that today as it relates to what is the situation right now for those who want to visit Canada. What are your options, if any, and what are some of the exemptions that are available and whether or not you would qualify for these exemptions. So let's get into it. So for example, on a couple of days ago, so they determined that if you applied for a visitor's visa on or before September 7th, then there are some things that you need to do versus if you're applying currently, right? So those who have applied after that date. So for those who have applied, I know there are tons of people who have applied prior to September 7th, obviously, because that's like a week ago. And I know there are some who have been waiting for at least a year to get some sort of feedback on that application. So as you may have expected, processing times have been significantly impacted, and IRCC actually has a backlog of some types of, it's not every single application, but some types of applications, even permanent residence applications. So it depends on the class and so on and what's happening. Okay, so I see somebody says 2 years I've been waiting. Yeah, that's long, yeah. So what they're saying now is that if you applied before September 7th and you meet certain COVID-19 exemptions, then you do not need to submit a new application. So previously they came out and they said, well, if you applied for a visitor's visa to come to Canada and you submitted your application before September 7th, you need to reapply, essentially submit a new application, and there's no guarantee that your fees will be refunded, right? So that's what they came out with initially. Now they updated that, of course. And so now they're saying, if you applied before, so you submitted your visitor visa application before September 7th, and you already told them, so if you qualify for the COVID-19 exemption, and we'll touch on some of those exemptions today as well. So if you qualified for those exemptions, then you do not need to submit a new application or write to them again, essentially. So that's what they're saying, right? So if you applied prior to September 7th, which I'm sure most of you have, if you have an application in progress, and that goes for both paper and online submissions, okay? So if you applied prior to that date, then you do not need to do anything. If your application has been in process for a long time, like some of you, I'm seeing some people saying 2 years, some it has been longer. They're saying that you don't need to do anything. But my advice would be, if you have applied and it's been that long, just keep a track of your application. If your situation has changed, if there's, for example, you got married or you got divorced, you had a child, whatever, you changed jobs. If something has changed since you applied, you will want to inform them of those changes, right? So you want to ensure that they're aware of those changes, because it could impact the decision that's made on your application. So, don't just apply, it was 2 years ago, and forget about it. You want to still be engaged and still follow along and know what's happening with your application, right? So that's one thing to bear in mind. So inform them of any changes, and to do that, you can do that by way of a web form on the IRCC's website. So that's one thing, right? If you have indicated that you have met or you meet the COVID exemptions, and you qualify for those exemptions, then you don't need to do anything. They will handle your application as normal. And as a matter of fact, it is those who qualify for exemptions that will get their applications prioritized. So if you are in that bracket, so for example, if you meet the exemptions, for example, if you have a family member in Canada, usually these are the people that will get preference right now. And again, remember, this is because of the COVID situation. It was never this way before, but of course, with the pandemic, it has brought a lot of changes in how they're processing applications. For example, if you have a family member who is in Canada and you're not traveling for leisure or tourism, then those applications will be prioritized. So and when I say a family member, I want to define that as well, because they have a definition for who is a family member, and they have a definition, and family member meaning an immediate family member or an extended family member, right? So an immediate family member would be where you have a spouse or a common law partner in Canada that you need to visit, or you have a dependent child in Canada, a parent or a step parent. Those are what are a guardian, right? So that's what's considered an immediate family member. And then an extended family member would be, so a cousin would not be an immediate family member. So an extended family member might be somebody that's in an exclusive dating relationship. So not married, not in a common law partnership, but might be an exclusive dating relationship for at least 1 year, and you have spent physical time to, like, you've been in one place with that person, right? It's not like it's an online relationship. You've never met the person in person. So an exclusive dating relationship, or if you're a dependent child, that is an adult. Well, an adult would not be a dependent child, but you're a child, that's an adult. So an adult child, rather, right? That would be a part of an extended family relationship, right? And then if you are a dependent child of someone who is in an exclusive relationship, dating relationship, that is. If you are a grandchild, so for example, you have a grandparent in Canada, sibling or half sibling, those are also considered extended family members, right? So right now, those are the people who may get preference in terms of the application being processed. And of course, it will be dependent on the reason for your travels. If you're traveling for reasons that are not leisure purposes, then you're more likely to get prioritized than for somebody who's just traveling for tourism purposes. So even though right now they're saying that you can travel to Canada if you are vaccinated, you already have a visa, it is still not encouraged because of course, restrictions in travel, even in movement, even within Canada, right? With going into another wave of this pandemic, it does make things a little bit more complicated. So those are some of the things that you want to bear in mind. Now they're saying that you may need to submit a new application if you fall into one of these categories. And remember, if you already have an application in progress and you need to submit a new application, it will be a new fee. So you have to bear that in mind. And there's no guarantee that the fees that you paid for a previous application will be returned or refunded, right? IRCC, they're usually good at returning application fees. Like you'll just see it come right back to your credit card. However, if they already started processing your applications, generally, you will not get a refund. They will usually only refund your fees that you pay on if they haven't started processing your application. So that's something to bear in mind. So they're saying that they recommend submitting a new application online, right? Not on paper. If you submitted your application, your visa application before September 7th, your situation has changed and you're traveling for reasons such as to be reunited with an immediate family member who is a Canadian citizen or a protected person, right? And remember, we already looked at who might be considered an immediate family. So your spouse, your common law partner, your dependent child, those are usually considered immediate family members, or even a parent, right? So that's something to bear in mind as well. Or if you're traveling to be reunited with an extended family member. And we already looked at who are extended family members. So they're saying that if you are in this situation, you applied prior to September 7th, you haven't heard anything, and you're traveling for these reasons, then they would encourage you to submit a new application, right? If you are visiting for business purposes, so you're attending a meeting or a special event, a training, something like that, you are coming to Canada for to attend end-of-life care or ceremony, a funeral or something like that. So you would fall into this category as well. You're coming to provide provide care to a critically ill person. So like maybe somebody's in Canada who is sick and you're coming to help with that, then that would also qualify you as well. But generally, it's recommended if you are coming for these persons, like these reasons that are, emergencies. I would call that an emergency. If somebody's sick and you're coming to help with care for that person, or you're coming to attend a funeral, or somebody is pregnant and you're coming to help with providing care for delivery and so on, and after delivery, then you would want to apply for an exemption, a travel exemption. That would definitely speed things up. You want to do that by going to there's a federal government website, FAC. They are the public health. So basically going to the public health agency's website and applying for that exemption. Please note though, when you're doing that, you will need medical reports, something from a medical doctor to ascertain the situation, right? And usually with that exemption from the public health agency, you can use that to apply for the visa. And usually it's from my experience and working on these for clients, they have been approved within a matter of days. So, but of course that is in extenuating situations where there is indeed a medical emergency, there's some urgency, right, to your trip. So that's something to bear in mind. But generally, if you're in these other categories, you applied before September 7th, your situation has changed somewhat, and you're traveling for these reasons to visit family members, immediate or extended family members, or to take care of a person that's sick, they're saying that you need to apply again. If you don't fall into any of these categories and you applied prior to September 7th, you don't have a really urgent need to travel, then you have two options. You can choose to just wait it out and see what will happen with your application, or you can reapply. But remember, there's no guarantee that your fees will be returned. My advice would be to wait, especially if you were just traveling for tourism purposes. It's right now it's probably not the best time to travel. And also, if you're traveling for tourism purposes and you apply now, and if they do process your application, remember visitor visa applications are all discretionary applications. So the it it the pandemic does play an impact in the decision that's made. So it's likely that your application could be refused because they're probably saying, where are you going right now? Right? It's a pandemic. Canada, our case counts are increasing, stuff like that. So if your purpose is not non-discretionary, you may not want to travel right now. So that's my advice. I mean, we do process visa applications. We do have clients who are applying, but the situation for each person is different. And so that would just be my advice to those who are looking to come and are not sure what's going on. So if you applied a long time ago and you haven't heard anything, you don't have an urgent need to travel to Canada, then I would say just wait it out. You can also withdraw the application, especially if a lot has changed. You can withdraw the application, but just bear in mind that there's no guarantee that you will receive a refund if they have started processing the application. What we have been doing as well is to apply for the case file, so the notes on some of these client applications in order to see what's happening. And that will also give you an idea of whether or not they have touched the application just yet. It does take you some time to get the notes. Normally, it would take you about 31 days. Right now, it's taking much longer. So that's another thing to bear in mind. Like this COVID situation, it's impacting everything, right? So even the processing time, even how your application is processed. And so that's something to also bear in mind. I'm just gonna look through to see what questions are there. Okay, so let's see. I did see some questions popping up. Somebody's saying, I want to apply for college. So remember, when I just started, I was talking about those who qualify for COVID-19 exemptions, right? One of the group of people that will qualify for an exemption right now, meaning you can travel to Canada, international students. So if you're coming to Canada to study, you can travel to Canada if your school has a COVID-19 readiness plans. And most DLIs right now will have a plan in place to be able to accept students. Of course, you can study online in your home country right now up until December 31st. We'll see what happens after that. But right now, that's the timeline that they have in place. So you can study online, you can start your program online. And those persons, so those who are attending, coming to Canada for school, your school is a DLI, your school has a COVID-19 readiness plans, which, like I said, most schools do. You can generally travel. You just don't want to travel too early. So if you start school in January, don't be traveling right now. They will send you back. They will turn you back. You don't want to travel too early. If you're starting in January, you don't want to come before December, right? So come in time to, of course, you want to have time to settle in and all of that, but you don't want to come too early. It will be very difficult for you at the port of entry, airport, wherever you're coming through. So that's my advice. But yes, if you're coming to study, you can travel to Canada. So those are some of the people who are exempted. Those who are coming for work. So those with a work permit, maybe it's a spousal work permit, you're coming with, you're accompanying a spouse that might be studying or something. Generally, you can also travel as a worker. And for those, somebody's asking for those who haven't applied yet, and asking about our services. So we do provide visitor visa application service right now. Yes, we do. However, like I said, if your purpose for travel is not urgent, I would not encourage applying right now. If it's not urgent, if it's not an emergency, like some of the examples that we discussed, and you're not exempted, then I would say just hold off on that for now, because one, you probably won't hear from them anytime soon. So like some of those persons who've been waiting for 2 years, you likely will be waiting for a long time, depending on what happens next with this pandemic. So if it's for leisure purposes that you want to come to Canada, tourism, whatever, to visit a friend, I would say hold off on doing so. So we'd be happy to help you, but like I said, it's not encouraged right now. Somebody's asking about permanent residence. I won't be touching on PR programs today. I'll just be talking about those who are looking or who have applied for visitors visa. And then somebody is talking about the vaccine. So right now, there's no mandatory requirement to be vaccinated to come to Canada. Of course, if you're not vaccinated, it just means that you'll have to go through a period of quarantine, right? But if you are vaccinated and you're traveling to Canada, I guess the benefit is that you wouldn't have to quarantine. And there are only a few vaccines that are accepted. So you will have to get one of the vaccines that are accepted by Canada right now in order to fall under those exemptions, right? So for right now, I think there are about 4 or 5 vaccines, like the AstraZeneca, Moderna, those popular ones, the Johnson and Johnson. I think it's just those 4 right now that are approved as accepted for Canada. So if you have been vaccinated with some other vaccine, you would not, they wouldn't see you as being vaccinated, essentially, because it wouldn't be one of the ones that they approve. So you would be in that category of people who haven't been vaccinated in their books, right? Yeah. All right. What is the cost for consultation? So we do consultation. Usually before we can work with anyone, we would definitely do a consultation. That would be the first step to work with us. The consultations are different. So we have different types of consultation depending on whether you're looking to Tashika. You can watch the replay after this. I'm not sure where you dropped off. So depending on what you're wanting to do, we have different types of consultations. So for work in Canada consultation, study in Canada consultation, permanent residence consultation, which is much broader because we'll be looking at more programs. So it depends on what your goal is, but definitely if I see you're on Instagram, check the link in our bio. And there are the options are there, as well as the cost of the consultation session. Same thing if you're on Facebook, you can go on our website at nccanadaimmigration.com. So that's www.nccanadaimmigration.com, and you will be able to see the options that are there as well. Somebody's asking, do you get job and work permit for foreign workers? We do it on a case-by-case basis, but it's not something that we do on a large scale because employers generally are not so open for the most part. So I do recruitment for Saskatchewan. So let me say that I am a licensed recruiter with the government of Saskatchewan, so I can recruit for this province. So that's one thing to note. Anybody who tells you, oh, I can find a job for you anywhere in Canada, it's probably not so. You usually need to have a license in order to recruit. And the license vary by province. So for each province, there is a different recruiter license. So bear that in mind. So some people get choked up about finding a job, but as some of you may or may not know, most of the immigration programs do not require a job offer, right? So as I always recommend, it's not my first recommendation. It's not the option that I would recommend first. Usually I would say finding a job is a last resort. And we do, from time to time, we recruit mostly for those who are in Canada, or a lot of our recruitment processes are usually for people who are already here physically, whether you're on a visitor's visa or study permit or whatever. We usually work with those persons first, just because it's easier for the employers and it's less costly for them. And then where we cannot find somebody in Canada, the next step is usually to go to our current clients. So we'll review those that we're working with first. And then if there is no one within our client portfolio who meets the needs of the employer, that's when we would extend it, right, to those who are the general public, those who are outside Canada. So that's how our recruitment procedures generally work. So we would first defer to those that we are currently working with for, different permanent resident programs. So that's how that works. But yes, we do recruitment, but it's not a requirement. I want to repeat that, to have a job offer to come to Canada. And most of you, I'm sure a lot of you have been searching for jobs. You'll know that it's not an easy process when you're outside Canada, right? To obtain a job offer, the employers have to get an LMIA. Like, the process is very tedious, very onerous. And as a result, it's a deterrent for a lot of employers. Okay. Okay, I'm kind of losing the feed, but guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up for today. Thanks so much for joining. I hope that this session was useful and informative. And like I said, if you are looking for support with your immigration application, whatever that may look like, definitely reach out to us. You can send an email to info@nccanadaimmigration.com, and we will be more than happy to assist you. As I always mention, for me to work with you, I have to be able to understand what's happening with your situation and to be able to advise on a process and a procedure and the route to take, and outline a roadmap for you. To do that, we usually do a consultation. So that's usually the first start. That will either be with myself or we have another consultant here. So it would be with one of either of us. And if you have questions, like I said, send us an email. We'll be happy to assist you. Keep following along on our social media channels. We'll be having a lot more information to share with you. Take care. Have a great rest of your week.